Good evening, everyone. This is Father Rob Sinatra from St. Padre Pio Parish, and we are here with our another weekly installment of Portraits of Faith. Tonight, we are blessed to have one of our parishioners and parish secretary, Mannetta Bylone, to be our special guest for this evening. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Now, guys, it sounds like there's going to be a little bit of a greater delay, like lag time than normal. So hang with us. It shouldn't be too bad. So, Mannetta, you've had a pretty interesting journey to here in the faith. So, I guess my first question to ask you is the first question I ask everyone is, what is your first memory, your first experience of either faith or your first experience with God? Oh, she's frozen. Mannetta, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Did you hear my question? Because you froze there.
I know. So did you. We're doing it together. I don't know why.
Well, now better. It sounds like it's synced up much more now. So my question is, what was your first experience with faith, and what was or your first experience with God? What's the first thing that you remember growing up?
I remember going to church with my mom and my grandmother and all of us. There were 5 of us. We all went to church every Sunday. And
Mm-hmm.
it was parents went up to church lessons, story time, singing songs. That's what I remember first of church.
Okay. And now you didn't grow up Catholic. What was your religion growing up?
I was a Baptist in Philadelphia. That's what my grandmother was and my mom. And we were raised Baptist. And then when we moved to New Jersey, I was 9. We continued to go to that church until I was about 12, I guess. We traveled back and forth because my mom had a very deep connection with the church. And it was a very active church. My Sunday school teacher lived on the same street as me. We used to go sit on Miss and it was where I lived. So we had colorings and all kinds of things, but always a very welcome, loving place that you could go, even outside of the church.
So what was it like having your Sunday school teacher live down the street from you?
Well, it was fun because she was like having a kindergarten teacher living right close to you, someone that you just really connected with, you enjoyed being with. As I got older, my Sunday school teacher was Margaret Whitman. She was much older, and she gave me my.
Okay. All right. So I didn't catch the tail end of that, but that's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
I think
we keep freezing up. I don't know why.
Sometimes. Well, the thing is that what we're using in terms of StreamYard, and I have to let Batman out.
I
It's
figured I
this,
watch you go on your walks.
yeah.
Hmm.
So when so many people use this program, that sometimes it tends to freeze and lag, whether you pay for the service or not. It tends to be a little rough. So there, go ahead. All right. So um, did you see any like big time change in the practice of your faith from like being young and then being older? I know you said at 12 you moved away from Philadelphia and you traveled back and forth. What happened at 12? Did you find a community here that or wherever you were living at the time? I didn't mean to presume that you moved here, but
Well, we started going to the Baptist church in Marlton, and it was okay. It wasn't the same environment that we were used to in Philadelphia.
mm-hmm.
But then my dad actually met a very, very wonderful man, would come into my dad's gas station, and he didn't know him as a pastor. He simply knew him as a customer. And they got to be good friends, just talking and
Oh,
the
sorry,
foot.
Mannetta.
So it didn't matter that it wasn't a Baptist church, but it was a church where people connected.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, and it is much more true now, especially with younger people. Um, but I see it all the time. People's relationship with God and or connectedness to a church or community, first and foremost, is based on relationship,
Hmm.
right? It's based on who you know, and how that person makes you feel. Remember that old saying, you may not remember what a person says to you, but you'll always remember how they make you feel, right? For your dad, that man, that pastor was able to build that relationship, and allowed you to enter into a community that was important to you.
Well, I've lost you again.
Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Sorry. Um, so I was saying that a lot of times everything is built on relationship, a relationship with God, and sometimes it's a relationship with a person. Right. Your dad didn't know who that man was. He didn't know he was a pastor,
No.
but it was building up that relationship with him that allowed you to enter into a community of faith.
Yes. Yes.
And and that's even more true today with young people. Young people need to be connected, and if they have a personal relationship with somebody who's authentic and real, then that allows them to have that foray into the life of the church. Oh. Did Matt,
Okay.
are you
Well, I
with
caught the
me?
very tail end of that. Uh, when
Oh,
you go on a long spiel, I kind of get the beginning, miss the middle, and get the end.
and then get the end, the same thing, the same thing.
Yes.
I'm really sorry, guys. Thank you so much for your patience tonight. The technology just doesn't want to seem to work.
I don't know.
And the thing, and Minetta. Well, let me just give a little backstory. I've been trying to get Minetta to come on for weeks, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so she's like, "Well, I don't know, feel uncomfortable." So I finally get her on, and then what happens is that the program
Intimidated.
doesn't cooperate, right? So Donna DeLuca says hello. Uh, at least there are some friendly faces out there. So you now are connected with this new community, and what was that like for you and for your family?
It felt like an extension of my experience with the church in Philadelphia. It was the openness, the feeling of being welcome. Um, I was involved with the choir with my mom, my sister. We would go to choir and sing in the choir at the church, and so
Hmm.
it just felt right, and and just being involved in the church.
Okay. So, now this was you as a teenager, or did it also go into young adulthood, being connected? Did you hear my question?
Right. Repeat that question again.
Okay. All right. So this new church,
Yes.
was this just you as a young person, or also as a young adult?
I was probably at that point going through high school.
Hmm.
So between like 12 and 16, 17. And that was the
Okay.
church that Pete and I got married in. Father Joe came up
Okay.
with our minister and married us in the church.
Oh, okay. So talk to me about that. How did you meet your husband?
How did I meet Pete? Well, I worked in a bank and um, he worked in the same, and I worked at a branch up near Berlin by the Lindenwald High Speed Line is where I worked.
Hmm.
And we kind of met through work, through the over the phone. He was in commercial loans. I was part of a branch with loans and things, and we met that way. Um, and then we met in person at Christmas party and a bank picnic. So then we started
Okay.
dating.
Now, did it matter to you and your family that he was Catholic?
No, because my dad was Catholic. My
Oh, okay.
father was, and uh, it unique religious background. Um, on my dad's side, and he was Max Schusterman. He married
Hmm.
Clementine Farrow, a Catholic. Um, so my grandfather said to Nana, "You, when they had children, you raise the children in your religion because when a child has questions, they go to their mother." So my father was raised Catholic. So to keep the confusion going, I guess he decided to marry a Baptist, and they got married in the rectory at the Catholic Church.
Okay. And then it's also like it seems like that you practice the religion of, well, we were talking about this, that there seems to be a pattern, and I don't know if that's true for folks out there. If
Of
you're
my mom.
watching, you can, right? Like, so everybody practices the faith of the mother. I don't know if that's the same as everybody else. So if anybody wants to chime in, you're more than welcome to throw it in the chat, and we'll talk about it. So.
Right. I do remember one of the questions that Father Joe asked me when Pete and I were talking to him before we got married. And he asked if I would have any problems raising my children Catholic. And with my background, I said, of course not. I welcome any religion that welcomes us. And that's kind of where we went. So the children were
Mhm.
all raised Catholic.
Now, did you know? I mean, you knew of your Catholic roots, but how much of your Catholic faith of the Catholic faith of your family um, did you know, or anything at all?
Very little. Of course, we had weddings and things where I was in a bridal party for my dad's sister. and
Mm-hmm.
attending masses for that. And but very little. My dad would go to mass um, because he wanted to keep his mother happy. So he always went to mass, and we went to Sunday school, and it was okay. It didn't seem separate. It didn't seem separated. It just was. That's where we went. That's what we did,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it affected anything at all. I was not forcing any religion.
Okay. Okay, good. Um, so, how long were you guys married before you converted to Catholicism?
Um, okay. I remember when the youngest of my four children, the twins, were
Mm-hmm.
getting their first communion or their confirmation. I wasn't able to receive communion at the Catholic Church,
Mm-hmm.
and that had been all along. And that always bothered me that I couldn't receive, that I didn't have that privilege. And I understood that. A very, very wonderful friend. She's been a lifetime friend, Jerry, and I always noticed she had a peace about her, an inner peace, an inner happiness. Um, she never seemed to worry. She was always let go and let God, and that was her thing. And I always wanted that peace that Jerry seemed to have. And we talked about it a lot. And she told me it is my faith. It is the faith that I find in the Catholic Church and in the traditions and in the rituals and all. She said there's the peace that she finds in that. I talked to her. This was the feeling that I had been missing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went talked to it was Father Pete at the time, and talked to him about everything, and converted. I guess I was 40. I guess I was around 40 when I converted. So the children were coming out of high school. They were starting to come out of high
Mm-hmm.
school.
And so what was that? What was that like for you? What was it? What was the big difference? Like, could you see the difference between what had come before and what you were experiencing now?
Well, there's a lot more tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Tradition is big in the Catholic Church, and pomp and more. I don't know the word I want to use. Not as formal, I guess, is the word. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it just felt that there were times that you needed to do certain things and in certain ways. Um, with the other religions, you went to church, you sang some songs, you listened to the pastor, and you left. I mean, once a month you had communion, but it wasn't as regimented as you could walk in any Sunday and
Mm-hmm.
receive communion and leave, and the kneeling, the the up and down, the standing, the right, knowing and feeling that I'm here, God is here. This is the love that I need to feel and the acceptance that I need to
Mhm.
be in. And that's what I felt there.
Now, do you have any particular tradition that means more to you than others in terms of being Catholic?
One of the things, I guess it's kind of funny. I remember listening to Floss when she was on, and she talked about the Protestant religion uh, doesn't really talk about Mary, acknowledge Mary.
Hmm.
A whole lot about her, other than just anything that I have found. I feel very close to Mary. I guess as a mother, you feel that love,
Hmm.
the protection that you want for your children. Um, the different things, the stations of the cross was not something that you learned as a Protestant. And in that touches me in so many ways. Um, when the movie The Passion came out,
Hmm.
Jerry and I went to see it in the movie theater, and I cried through that movie. I broke down and cried. And when it became available on a DVD, I purchased it.
Yeah, I went to go see it like 3 or 4 times in the movie theater. Um, and
And
I own it.
no,
Yeah, go ahead.
so that's what I did. That's my tradition.
Hmm. Well, I was going to say, I don't know if you heard me because the patience that everybody's showing right now, by the way, is incredible. Good job, guys. Way to hang in there.
Thank you.
um, but I bought I saw the Passion in the movie theater like four times. And I own the DVD. But I don't know if I have ever watched it all the way through.
Oh,
Um, since I've owned it. But I will tell you that the scene that they talk about the Last Supper, they showed the Last Supper along with Jesus being crucified. Um, that's one of the most, like, I think, moving and poignant, and I think theologically accurate um, depictions of what the Eucharist is for us, and how it's tied, how the Last Supper and Good Friday are inexorably linked.
yes,
So
yes.
you talked about being a mom. I know. I want you to talk about the story that we were talking about
Oh,
the other day, if you feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable.
I love sharing that story because it strengthened my faith and told me in my heart that God was listening. So
Hmm.
I did not know. Um, my first son was born, David, and they realized there was another baby. So there are 13 minutes between David and Tony, which is a long time for twins. Um, David was fine. He came out. He was breathing, happy. They brought him over alongside of the delivery table. Tony was born. There was no breathing, no noise, no sounds. They were in a horseshoe shape, the second team of doctors that came in because it was a surprise delivery. They were around Tony. I could hear them suctioning him, and he wasn't doing anything. And a nurse turned and looked at me, and her eyes said to me, well, you have one.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, I closed my eyes and I just said, Lord, either give him to me or take him back. And with that, Tony let out the biggest scream, not even a cry. It was a scream.
Mm-hmm.
And her face, when she turned around again, she was a big smile and all, oh, he didn't like that. And I just was like okay, well, his to be years. Peter and Mannetta were at school. Tony and David were playing in the living room, and Tony climbed up. We were reading a book, and he started playing with my wedding ring. And he said, Mommy, when you die, can I have your wedding ring? And I thought, well, that's kind of an odd thing to ask, but sure, Tony, why would you want Mommy's ring? And he said, well, when you die, I can look at it and think of you. And I thought that was the oddest thing in the world for a
Mm-hmm.
4-year-old to say to me.
Right.
And I said, oh, he said, what else do you remember? And he said, I remember sitting with God and having to wait for him to say, okay. Well, that put me right back on the delivery table with me saying
Mm-hmm.
either or give them to me. And with that, he jumped off my lap and went down and just started playing like, well, I just had to tell you that. And away he and I asked him as he got older. I mean, I just couldn't believe what I had just experienced, but it confirmed to me that God was listening that day and
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, you can have him. And boy, does he owe me for that one.
So, did that moment and just recognizing that God was listening, did that like affect and strengthen your faith in any way? Oh, we've lost her.
Oh,
Did you hear my question?
no, I did not.
Okay. Um, so after that experience of
Yes.
understanding that God is listening, did that give you a different perspective? Like, in other words, did it strengthen your faith in any way, knowing like there was like a greater, like, we always know that God is listening, but to really know that God is listening, does that affect you in any way?
Well, yes. Um, because I about her with situations. We all grew up. We lived up and down the East Coast. I have a sister in Florida, South Carolina. We're all over. And I always asked her, how does it not drive you crazy that we're on the roads with the kids in the car? Or don't you worry about that? And she said, it's not up to me. And I thought, what do you mean by that? It's not up to you. And she would say, everybody would leave. They get in their cars. She said, I close my eyes and say, thy will be done. And I'd go to bed because there's no point in worrying about it because it's not up to me. Yours
Hmm.
is in God's hands. And she was very adamant about that. She had that faith that I also wanted, like Jerry, let go and let God. Just relax. A big part of it.
So, so you've been Catholic for since you were 40. And I won't ask you, or I won't ask you to let other people know how actually old you are right now. But like,
Oh, I don't
what
care.
are some of the?
I don't care, Father. I'll be 67 the end of this month.
Okay, so almost 3 decades of being Catholic.
Yes.
What are some of the gifts that you can impart by understanding about being part of the church and tradition and all of that? What are some of the were there any moments like over the past 3 decades that have really touched you as being Catholic?
I think a stronger belief. Um, I joined the choir. I love being in the choir. Um, I then became a lector. I love being a lector. Um, it is all that closeness. I was always afraid to be very active in the church because
Hmm.
I wasn't that lifelong Catholic. I wasn't that young child that grew up understanding all the prayers and memorizing all these things. This was all new to me, but each step that I took and each prayer that I learned brought me closer and more peaceful. It's a wonderful way to
Hmm.
start my day. But all those
um,
things, they just it is a oneness that I feel, a closer connection.
hmm.
And each started teaching CCD this year, and I always say to teach is to learn. So it helped me to learn even more about the traditions and the things that the fifth graders and I would talk about.
So what's one thing that you learned this past year in CCD that you didn't know before?
I missed that whole question.
Okay, let me write it out. So was there one thing that you learned in religious ed? I can't spell this year that you didn't know before.
That I didn't know before. Hmm.
Did you learn something new?
Um. Well, that is very hard to keep the attention of fifth graders. Uh, um, that's they are anxious to learn more, but their connection with religion is touch and go.
Right.
Myself, I think the big thing for me is confession. Um, Taking the children down for confession and just reassuring them that um, I know this probably goes against everything you want them to know, but I tell them there's no magic words, there's no special way that you have to say you're sorry. But if you truly in a way that you want them to hear it. that was something that I had to really learn about, is confession.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's not really a whole part of Protestant tradition.
Not at all. No, if
Or
you just go right to the big guy, you know.
right. And really, with the sacrament of confession, you're really doing the same thing. You're going to God. It's just through the
Yes.
priest, and it's only because God said to the apostles, "Whose sins you forgive, they are forgiven them, and whose sins you hold bound, they are
There you go.
they're bound." So, like, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's like, I don't confess to a person. I confess. Well, you're confessing to God when you go to confession too. But it's great that the fifth graders to really understand like the importance of confession, or at least to help them feel more comfortable with it.
Right. Right. And I told them there's nothing that you can do that God will not forgive you for. Just always know
Right.
that. So, they're kids and they have to just be reassured. And that's what I hope that I did with them.
Well, I think so. I think so. We'll take you back. We'll take you back.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's saying that we're having a pretty bad connection. We're trying as best. We're trying our best.
I don't know why. But
Yeah, I don't know. Some
oh well.
like sometimes, like, if we were to end this broadcast and get into it again, that it might be better. But, like, I don't want to. We might lose the folks that we have. So let me just look. I'm gonna look real quick on Facebook to see how it's shaking out
Okay.
at the moment. So give me 1 second, and I gotta scroll all the way down to where it's at. Where is it? Come on, come on. Technology is a wonderful thing.
It works.
It does. And we still have 19 people. We still have 19. So we're hanging in there. Let me see what it sounds like here. Or did I just freeze? We still have 19 people. We still have 19. So we're
Oh,
hanging in there. We sound good. Well, I sound normal. Are you able to get closer to your router, Mannetta?
sure. Let me take this over there. Hang on. Wow. That was a close up. Sorry.
That's okay. But you actually sound a lot better.
Okay.
So that's a lot better. So thank you, Mannetta.
Oh, yes, there I am. I'm still here. A little shorter,
You're
but
still
I'm
here.
here. Okay.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's great. So let's do. Oh, did you just freeze again?
Is that better?
It's a little better. It's a little better. You're still freezing, but it's who knows. Technology's just baffling sometimes. So let me ask you a question. Um, you're working for the church now. What are, like, it's I always say working for the church is like somebody has now like removed the veil, right? That you can see stuff that you didn't get a chance to see before. What are your impressions of working for the church?
That everyone is just a real person. You're not all. Let me priests and nuns, and it just seemed that there was a hierarchy that, that was up there, and you weren't, but you are a wonderful, warm, loving, caring, giving man. I've learned so much about you. I like the person that I've met and gotten to know a whole lot better, who has a wonderful sense of humor and a genuine caring for everyone in his parish.
Now you're making me blush.
Everyone.
Oh, you're back. Mannetta, we didn't hear like the last like 30 seconds of what you said,
Oh,
other than the fact that you were making me blush.
oh, well, I tend to do that when I just tell you how good you are, which you are. You have a genuine caring. If that phone rings and someone needs you, you are there.
Mhm. Well, we were talking about it today.
So drop everything. Yeah, I just seen you make yourself available to your flock. How's that?
That's good. Yeah, we were talking about it today. We did the VCC, the Violent Catholic Collaborative Roundup, where we talk a little bit about religious ed and things that are going
Mm-hmm.
on. And Felicia, in her kindness, just thanked Monsignor and I for the stuff that we're doing. And you know, Monsignor said it perfectly. He said it perfectly, in the fact that this was our only response. This was our only response. To we had to make sure that we had to stretch and push ourselves, even in areas that we were uncomfortable, um, in order to make sure that the faith was continued to and the church, her mission would continue forward as best we could, especially in the circumstances that we found ourselves in.
Right.
So now, has your faith changed a little bit because of everything that's going on right now? Have you found any new insights in terms of like COVID and quarantine and a lot of the stuff that's happening and people are experiencing?
Well, I think you can't help but look at your beliefs and um, a lot more time on. Doesn't matter how big the table is in your house. It matters who's sitting around it, the people that you want
Hmm.
there. Um,
Right.
I think it just makes you appreciate what you have, especially if you have good health. Um, I have a wonderful family. I have been blessed with marrying into the right family. Um, Charlie and Pearl Bylone were, to me, the most wonderful people I could have ever had the fortune of having as in-laws. Pearl is
Hmm.
still alive. She is 91. She lives with her
Oh, God bless her.
stays with us occasionally. The best well do. they were real people, and
Mhm.
their faith, their love for each other and for everything, just they had all the right values. And I was fortunate to have that environment for my children to grow up with. Um, it was just, you look back and you appreciate what God put in your path or what path He put you on. Um,
Mhm.
and what I got to experience through all this, my faith through the quarantine. Yes, you worry about family, you worry about friends, but again, I've learned to close my eyes and
Okay, so I mean, I don't want to to talk too much out of school, but you said something pretty beautiful the other day, like weeks ago when this all started. Um, that you sat down and
oh,
you wrote letters to all the kids, all the grandkids. And I'm not asking you to to delve deep into all of it.
okay.
Did you give a did you give a message like faith wise in those letters? And what did you say about that?
Um, yes. In each one of them, I kind of told them that I hoped that their faith always remained important to them. Um,
Hmm.
the older you get, the wiser you get, the more that you, I think, yearn to know God or to get closer to God, um, because you reflect on your own life. Just as I was looking back and telling them things that I wanted them to know about themselves, and
Hmm.
that I saw in each one of them the different things, um, and just how much each one of them meant.
Oh, come on, Minetta.
So I don't
And you're
know if you
back.
got that.
All I got, the last thing you said was that you let them know how much they all meant to you.
Oh,
That's all.
and just knowing that, I hope that they knew or found God's peace will bring them so much joy and contentment.
Oh, that's great.
So
That's great.
it you have to know God to have that peace.
Hmm.
So
So, normally around this part of the program, right? We open up everything to questions for people who are watching. Now, hopefully, you were able to hear enough of what Matt and I have been talking about tonight to ask some questions. So, does anybody have any questions for Mannetta?
oh my,
And then it would take it'll take a couple of
I'm
seconds.
sure.
There's a usually about a 7 to 15 second delay between asking a question and people writing and typing and putting it in.
Oh my.
And Batman wants to go outside for like the seventh time.
Oh,
This I
Batman.
never had. He has been a buster since I got back
See?
from Novena.
Well, he has your attention now.
He has my attention now. Absolutely. Go ahead. Go ahead. No frogs. I bet he's looking for a frog. He had. We went over to Dave's pool last night, and let's just say that he had I think he got one frog and was in negotiations with a second.
Aha.
so,
Oh,
so I think you may have gotten off lucky, Mannetta. I
yay.
don't see any questions here at all.
Well, I think with the technical difficulties that it was so sporadic what we were talking about that maybe they didn't get it all anyway. So,
Well, guess what? We do have one. We do have
uh-oh.
one. So Deacon Rich asks, how can you
Oh,
stay so positive all the time?
I don't know. I think it's because I tell people you can go through life laughing or crying, and I choose to go through with a smile on my face and just trying to give everyone else that smile. Why
Mhm.
go through life and be so miserable? There's so many things you should be joyful for. I don't know. I just am happy.
Yeah, and I mean I'm not going to give any information out because I'm respecting your privacy. You went through that very difficult thing that we had discussed. That that affected not only you but also other members of your family. Um, and even throughout all of that, I was impressed about how even when we know that there are people that are not always going to like us or love us, that you still prayed for people and that you still had the love of God in your heart for people. That I thought that was impressive. I really thought that was impressive.
Well, if you carry a burden or hate, um, anger, if you carry that with you, it wears on you. It doesn't wear on the person that you're angry with. Um, so I always say, I just now I realize they need someone praying for them so that they don't treat other people the way that they treated me. And I think that that was the right thing to do. It brought me a peace knowing that I didn't carry that burden of feeling like, oh, they did this, they did that. It was gone. I don't even think about it anymore. I now approach things with, I don't want to be that person to anyone. And I just want to do, somebody calls, what can I do for you? Is what I ask whoever calls.
Well, that's a great attitude. That's a wonderful attitude to have. Um,
And
so-
whoever I come in contact.
oh
Batman.
shoot!
Ah,
Yeah, there's Batman. Batman again,
yep,
again,
that's okay.
again. So I don't know if you saw it, but Joanne says that she misses your coffees on Fridays.
So
Uh,
do I. I hope her and Judy are doing well. Joanne and yes, um, I miss
so
Judy. I
where's
miss
well, she's watching. Judy's watching. So
Joanne.
and sooner rather than later, we'll be back. We'll be back.
It,
So
hello. Oh,
And
they're
Janet
good.
says hi to Joanne too.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's one of the hard things, with all of this is that we have we've lost a sense of community that we're trying to reconnect with and hold on to as best we can.
Yes. Yes.
Does Batman need a bladder control supplement? The answer to that question is no. What he needs is a frog control supplement. He is looking for frogs. That's what he's doing right
Yes.
now.
He's on a mission.
He's on the hunt. In fact, he just scratched at the door again to go out. By the way, Patty says that she misses you too. So,
Oh, Patty. Hi, Patty.
all right. And of course, Margaret Harkins.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Thank you, Margaret. She always would come up to me after Mass and tell me how much she
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed my reading when I read. And that touches me.
That's a you have no idea how much that can affect people and their experience of church. You scratch at the door and you're not going out. I might need to go to confession because I think I'm going to commit a sin against the fifth commandment. But look at look 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 at that look at that face, right? He's like, you're not paying any attention to me. So. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for tonight. Um, Mannetta, thank you so much for doing this. I know, unfortunately, technologically, I mean, things got a little bit better towards the end, but I know it was a little bit of a rough go. Um, Janet says, remember when you guys met selling raffle tickets at the Padre Pio festival?
Oh, yes, I was the crazy one running around with Margaret Bick, I believe. We were selling tickets in that uh, a crazy crowd. There are so many wonderful people in the parish that I have come to know, and they fill my heart.
Well, we also got another.
That's my Tony. And my girls, Riley and Sophia and Jenna. Yep.
How old are they?
Well, Riley is going to start middle school. She's going to, yeah, she's getting into sixth grade, and Sophia's going into kids, and then Kyle and Riley, Reagan and Riley and Sophia and Zoe, and the new little guy who's going to join us in July.
That's wonderful.
So
So how many altogether? How many altogether is that?
we have 7 right now, and 2 boys and 5 girls, and now we're getting another little guy. So he wants to see
So
Batman.
okay, all right, because he's at the door too. So we'll do a little thing.
She misses Batman. She
Say hi
remembers
to
him.
Zoe. Say
Oh,
hi. The hamsters are getting tired.
Oh,
Well, Mannetta, thank you so much once again for agreeing to do this.
I
You really, it really was a beautiful story, and there are lots of little nuggets that I know people can take with them tonight. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
well, I hope so. I hope people leave just opening their hearts and loving God and letting Him love them back. Just welcoming
Amen.
Him in. That's what brings the joy.
No, absolutely. Amen. So, on behalf of Mannetta and all the people, wonderful people here at St. Padre Pio, I am Father Rob Sinatra. This has been Portraits of Faith. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you, Father.